time to go back to the moon, this time to stay.
Als er dan op aarde leven is ontstaan, dan zou dat ook op Mars gebeurd kunnen zijn.
The moon is the next step.
It really is the stuff of science fiction.
We want a new space race. Races are exciting.
People are going to want to live here.
Ik hoop het eigenlijk wel. Het zou mijzelf persoonlijk best wel tof lijken. Of anderzijds er in ieder geval het leven mogelijk is, dat is de tweede vraag. Dat zijn we nog aan het onderzoeken. Of er leven überhaupt in het heelal is, dat denk ik wel. En waar het ook heen gaat met, in ieder geval met Mars en onze missies, dat durf ik eigenlijk niet zo goed te zeggen.
I absolutely believe so, yes. As a die-hard fan of science fiction, I do believe in the near future we will live on Mars. I also strongly believe that as a civilization, we're going to extend out and reach into the universe and become an interplanetary civilization soon. But maybe that's just my bias towards science fiction.
Well, if we do, I hope that the people even further in the future can find traces of us, because that would be really fun. I think that one day we probably will, because we've made leaps and bounds in our history that are unimaginable for us to live without, and also I think leaps and bounds will continue to happen. So I think, especially studying broadly the world history of archaeology, it gives you a real big bird's eye perspective of everything that we've done as people. And that's one thing that I really like about the study is you learn a lot of details, but you also learn how to formulate them all into this big picture. So when you step back and look at the big picture, you think, wow, we learned how to farm, we learned how to domesticate animals, we started building these amazing things. So it kind of gives you the sense of there's really nothing that we can't do.
Ik denk dat het zeker mogelijk is dat we later op Mars gaan leven. Vooral omdat de aarde steeds drukker en drukker wordt, zullen we toch op een gegeven moment daar oplossingen voor moeten vinden. Hoe snel dat gaat gebeuren, dat weet ik nog niet. Ik denk ook niet dat we heel snel makkelijk water gaan vinden, bijvoorbeeld op Mars. Maar ik denk dat het in de verre toekomst zeker mogelijk is.
If there's one thing I know is that I won't live on Mars personally. I refused. I don't think we will live on Mars. Anyone watching this video, at least if you're living in the 2020s, I don't think that will happen within our lifetime. I also wish that we would think about sort of dedicating resources to make planet Earth more viable as a place to live, because, well, that's where humans come from, because it's livable for humans. I don't know if we'll ever live on Mars. I think I never say no, especially for fields that are just so fastly changing, and you can achieve so much completely radical changes within just a few years. But I don't think that will happen within my lifetime at least.
Het houdt mijzelf persoonlijk best wel bezig, omdat ik vind zelf Stephen Hawking, in ieder geval ik heb zijn boeken gelezen, vind ik best wel heel erg interessant. Met name over hoe groot het heelal wel niet is en wat er wel allemaal mogelijk is. En ik geloof ook zeker dat er leven is binnen een ander sterrenstelsel. Of het op Mars is, dat weet ik niet, maar of het ergens anders is, dat weet ik wel bijna zeker. Ondanks dat ik er zelf geen specifiek onderzoek naar heb gedaan. En het is ook met name de vraag of hoe wij Nederlanders of hoe wij wereldbewoners later een plek in kunnen gaan vinden.
Ik hou me heel erg bezig met leven in het heelal. Het heelal is zo enorm groot en ik kan me bijna niet voorstellen dat wij de enigen zijn. Ik denk zeker dat er leven is in een ander sterrenstelsel.
Well, I'm always very excited by things that are space and new and exciting new innovations. Even though it's not super related to my study program, anything having to do with science, we're taught as archaeologists to applaud that and encourage that and think about ways that we can relate it to what we're doing, and also how what we know and our perspectives can contribute to that. Having, I guess, a humanistic perspective and a human-centered perspective, thinking about what people need to survive in new lands, what people need to have to find happiness, and how people have done that throughout the ages, I think is a really important topic to think about when we think about putting people in completely new situations and in completely new worlds. We've done it before, but if we want to do it really well, we have to look to the past in order to do it again.
Ik studeer zelf informatica en vooral bij sterrenkunde zie je bijvoorbeeld dat we veel programma's gebruiken en dat je veel moet programmeren. Zo kunnen we bij informatica ook bijvoorbeeld modellen maken of klassificatiesystemen voor verschillende sterrenstelsels of sterren.
Niet heel erg specifiek, maar ons studie kijkt heel erg naar management en naar samenlevingen. En stel, mochten we in het heelal een nieuwe samenleving gaan creëren, dan is daar ook management en eigenlijk een soort van overheid voor nodig om dat te gaan voorzien van mensen hun dagelijkse behoeften. Dus enigszins qua managementtechnieken, dat zeker. Dat het in een andere vorm gaat uitzien, dat zeker wel.
The universe. Well, okay, so my studies are not really connected to space or like the astronomy very directly. The title of my specialization is Global Political Economy, and that really sets the scene for planet Earth. But I think it also connects with the limitations of planet Earth, and I think that really also ties in with this idea of expanding beyond it. And I'm not a big fan of like the idea of going outside of this planet. I'm good here. A lot of the recent advancements that we've had towards space, some might even call it colonization, have been brought forward by individuals who hold vast amounts of wealth, and we see kind of a decrease in how we talk about national agencies in terms of space exploration and so on. So
I think in essence, biology is the study of the universe within life. Because in each of our living organisms, or like all the life on Earth, we can find complex processes that mimic larger things that we can see in the universe. And perhaps the study of biology for me is like looking into life through the lens of the universe. So I think they're interconnected, and I think understanding more about one thing leads to understanding more about the other.
Well, we talk about the universe and not in terms of space, but we talk a lot about humanity as a whole in a very big picture sort of way. One of the downsides is that you do end up staying up late a lot of nights thinking to yourself of, oh no, how are robots people? Are animals people? Are aliens going to be considered people? And I think this study gives you a really good way to deal with that, in that we do confront that question of what does it mean to be a human being. In our study program, we learn about Neanderthals and about other early hominin species that were not humans, they weren't Homo sapiens, but they have a lot of characteristics to what they've left behind that are very similar to early humans. Or they might have looked like us, they might have acted like us in some ways. There's evidence that some of them made cave art, that some of them did that thing where you make a little stencil of your hand, and that's something that to so many people is so uniquely human. So it really makes you confront that idea of what does it mean to be a person, and how should we treat beings who act like us but maybe aren't quite like us. So I think even though our study program doesn't talk explicitly a lot about space and about the possibilities for the future, we do have the tools to think about it. And we are also always, as archaeologists, taught to leave room for the future. We're always taught, maybe if you have a site, don't excavate it, all of it. Maybe save a little bit for the future, because you never know what kind of technologies are going to be developed that we don't even know about. I mean, 70 years ago, we were just beginning to have radiocarbon dating. And so now we can date things with a lot of accuracy that we didn't have before. So we're taught to leave a lot of room for the future and for future growth.